welcome to Planetary Health First, Mars Next. We are live at Vive. This is awesome, and we are so lucky today. I feel like I have a cousin, possibly. We have Parkers on the side of my family. So we have Jenna Parker, and we also have amazing co-host Neil. And Neil is going to be driving this conversation because he knows Jenna, and they have some really good... you guys have worked together in past with...
No, I'm just the leader of her fan club.
All right. Cool. Well, you take it away.
Okay. So I'm so glad to have you on. You are actually our, at least as a co-host, our second guest ever. And I think you will have an amazing story. So let's talk about, you work at Healthie. Can you just talk a little bit about what that company does?
Yes. Healthie is an EHR, patient engagement and scheduling platform. So we provide back-end infrastructure for all kinds of different digital health and private practice customers. We are working with more than 15,000 clinicians at this point, and we've touched more than 6 million patient lives. What's cool about Healthie is that we are API first and completely modular. So we've got customers that are using our entire suite of products and customers that are just picking and choosing, using the scheduling, using the patient engagement. The other beautiful thing about it is that you can use it out of the box, or as you grow and scale, you can even go completely white labeled, you can go headless with it. So it's really helping enable providers to create that virtual first care that they want for their specific segment for what they're doing.
And obviously you all did very well as COVID came along and you had tools to help people through that. But can you talk about how you're doing now? Because I think, frankly, there are a lot of companies here at Vive who are struggling, and I hear a very different story from Healthie.
Yeah, Healthie actually started in 2016 and was built around an asynchronous journey for people looking for nutrition and dietitian tools. So we actually didn't even come out of like the clinical space. And what happened was, I hate to say it, is like COVID was a great thing for us, right? We'd been building for a while and had already built a lot of these pieces, and there was suddenly a need for telehealth. And so from there, we just sort of expanded and grew our customer base. And yeah, today we've got a lot of digital health customers, a lot of women's health, a lot of MSK, a lot of, oh God, I can't even think, behavioral health. And really we just continue to grow and scale, and we're leaning more into private practice. So we sort of have a really wide customer base, which has enabled us to continue to grow and to be in a position where, we're not raising, and we've actually operated for the last 8 years, for about 5 of those years profitably.
Yeah. So by the way, for folks who are at Vive, whose company has not worked out so well, I constantly see a "We Are Hiring" off of Jenna Parker's LinkedIn page. So not to send everybody there, but it's a great place.
We're constantly looking for great talent, and if you're looking for a role, we'd love to have you. And I think one of the things is just Erica, our CEO. She thinks about a business. She thinks like you have to make money, right? You need to be profitable, and so we really try to make really smart decisions about the way that we build, the way that we spend money, because ultimately, right, we're responsible for thousands of providers giving this care to millions of patients, and so we take that responsibility very heavily, right? And we think through that in everything that we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
So you talked about how Healthie had kind of started sort of outside of where you currently are. Can you talk a little bit about your life journey, which is very unique and not necessarily the typical story of when you run into somebody at Vive and you ask, how did you get here?
So today I'm the chief of staff at Healthie, which chief of staff is a role that I think has sort of come into the spotlight in the last 5 or so years. For a while, the only chief of staff you knew was like the White House chief of staff, right? But today the role, it takes on a lot of different forms and functions. It depends on who you're working for, whether it's the CEO, COO, CTO. For me, I am the right hand for our CEO. I get to do a lot of work on special projects. I get to do a lot of investor relations work with her. I'm constantly sort of like boots on the ground at the company, looking for areas where we can improve processes and workflows, or looking for, not to say like fires to scare people, but like when there are issues, right, that come up, or there are things that aren't working as well, I sort of flag those. Or if I see an opportunity for growth, or maybe a part of the company that it's like, we need to spin this up, then eventually this will become a role that we'll hire for. So just really helping to 10x what she's able to do, and to sort of spread her out to do what she's really great at, and then I sort of pick up all of the other stuff. So it's been a really cool role to be in, and I've been there for coming up on 2 years in May.
So before we dive into the pre-Healthie life, which we have to get into because it's fascinating, I want to point out a contrast. I think sometimes these chief of staff roles are sort of different. Sometimes they're sort of like more like an admin. What I sense from your role is it's almost like another floating executive member, right? So when you're talking about putting out fires, it's not like there's like we don't have a conference room for some event.
Correct.
It's like, oh, hey, we need someone to engage on customer success or sales to like help another major effort. And so I think that's what's so cool and so fascinating about it, and something that I think some companies don't think about doing because it doesn't fit in a clean swim lane.
Yeah.
Always. Okay, so talk about pre-Healthie.
Oh boy, I don't know how far you want to dial it back.
Oh, I think I want to start in Massachusetts, like that kind of level.
Yes, so I grew up outside of Boston. I'm not allowed to say I'm from Boston because people who are really from Boston get very upset. I grew up in the suburbs of Boston.
And you don't talk like
I don't pack my car.
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
But I am a staunch Bruins fan, so don't mess with me there. Even though I live in New York, that will never change. Bruins through and through. Yeah, I grew up, have a bunch of brothers and sisters, grew up in a very athletic family, ended up attending Harvard University. I was recruited to swim and run track there. And after my freshman year of college, I was swimming every morning, running track every afternoon. And unlike most normal people who would say like, okay, 2 sports, this is too much, let's like dial it back. I was like, oh, I should just get a bike and start racing triathlons. Cause like, why would I not want to do more and find something even more masochistic? So the summer after my freshman year of college, I started racing triathlons, not really knowing much about the sport. I won the second triathlon I ever entered, and by the end of the summer, I'd turned professional. So that just sort of took my life in a completely different direction. And I basically, while everyone else was booze cruising and doing all the cool I was traveling around the world, racing World Cups, trying to get points to qualify to go to Olympic trials, and had sort of just taken my life in a completely different direction than I probably imagined it would go. And I spent the next 10 years, as I say, running around the world in my bathing suit. I lived all over the world, lived in Europe, lived in Australia, trained with the best coaches, trained alongside, Olympic gold medalists, people who've now won Kona 10 times, and really just sort of spent my 20s being a triathlete and chasing this goal of going to the Olympics. I went to Olympic trials in 2012. I came in 5th. Only 3 people go, so missed that mark a little bit, but still really
better than I would do. I think maybe just
a really cool experience to represent your country like on that stage, and it's something that yes, I would have liked to have gone to the Olympics, but it's still a milestone that was pretty incredible.
I'm just blown away to have you here in the studio. I'm like, Neil,
I know.
Neil, you're awesome for finding this person.
Well, and I feel like such an underachiever. Hang on. So in the last minute, literally, we have left, can you just segment from your professional athlete globetrotting days to your entertainment career before Healthie?
Yeah, so then I'd always wanted to be an actress, so I actually ended up landing the lead role in a sci-fi movie called Ice Sharks, which was during Sharknado week or whatever in 2016. So that was an incredible experience. And then from there, I went on to work at a David Lee Roth's health skincare startup, and then I ended up launching a venture fund, and then I was the first full-time employee at a wellness tech company, and then now here I am at Healthie. So,
and, to show you always learn something about someone, I did not know about the David Lee Roth thing. So now
he kicked me out of the only meeting that I was ever in with him because he didn't like the way that I dressed. So that was special.
I have one question. Mindset. Like, how the heck can you do what you do? I mean, like, what is it to be this kind of athlete? What is it? Tell us about that mindset to do what you do that no one can do.
I think the funny part is that it's never competition with anyone else. It's always competition with myself. And it's this idea of wanting to understand how good or great I can be and how much I can learn, how fast I can go. Just trying to basically test the limits of like who I am as a person. And I think I've always been that way. I've always just believed that I could do anything. And so when I do things, I just throw myself headfirst in, and whether it's health tech or fighting off sharks on a movie screen, it's what I do.
She's so disciplined. I'm not sure she's actually human. Maybe she traveled back in time.
I mean, Peter Parker, superhero, just saying no one's seen us in the room together. So.
What about the pain, like that level of endurance, like when you're competing, how do you push through that?
Honestly, it's a weird. I guess it's masochistic, right? It's a weird thing. It makes you almost feel alive, I think. And it's you're constantly learning something new about yourself. And I think that's why we're here, right? Whether it's educational, whether it's, your body and what your physical limits are. I think it's when you stop growing and you stop challenging yourself on some front, it's kind of a sad day, I think.
And I actually think that's a beautiful note to end on, because here at Vive, a lot of these companies and a lot of the industry is going through some challenging times as capital markets are changing. And so I think that's a good note of optimism about thinking about this as a long-term opportunity.
I'd also say you may think you're supposed to go one direction, but a lot of times when a door closes and it pushes you another way, there's a reason for it, and there's something even better around that corner. And I think as long as you remain true to who you are and you know what's important to you and you just stay rooted in that, letting those opportunities come to you, sometimes you end up in a place you never even imagined was possible.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for stopping in on Planetary Health First, Mars Next, live at Vive. Man, you crushing it. I'm pumped. I'm inspired. I imagine all of us are inspired when we hear this. Even the guy in the doing the sound check is inspired. So this is awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.